When I first woke up, I'm like, do you have my answers? Can you read the magical thing on my forehead? I can see your life purpose, but I can't tell you. I'm like, oh, shut up. But can you tell me what it is first?
There is always going to be this deeper message asking you to share yourself. When you're entering a new territory, a new authenticity, you get to find your true allies.
Yeah.
The person who sees you deeply, sees who you are, and accepts and celebrates the fullness of your divinity and your humanity.
Hey, it's Scott Brandon Hoffman, aka Brandon AF. This is the Mostly Conscious Late Night Show, and I'm already in a good mood because the guest backstage, she's an Earth Angel, and not only is she an Earth Angel and full of wisdom and full of epic things, she's like, she knows how to play. She knows how to have fun. She gets the vibrations, and the things like that. All right, we'll be back in a second. Live from the internet, it's the Conscious Late Night Show with your host, Brandon AF, with tonight's special guest, Katerina Satori. Brandon AF. She's just giggling. My guests always giggle on that introduction. I don't get it, but I think that's a good sign. It's a good sign. So Katerina and I go way back, not so way back, because we're both really young. And I just categorize her as she's just got this beautiful soul. I feel like she's an earth angel, and she's also super wise, super smart, and she has an incredible story. She's come over from a wild experiences, and she's had more wild experiences, and she brought them all with her, and she's going to share them on this show. And I was just giggling. Can you hear her giggling? So welcome to the show, Katerina, in the house.
Yeah.
How are you?
Wow. This introduction just
bring in the energy right off the bat.
The Earth Angel.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, you are.
Yes. Thank you.
You always feel, ever since I met you, I was always like this. It's like, I remember when we first started talking, we used to sit on Zoom for like hours or on the phone for hours. And we were just like downloading, talking, like past life relationship or something, or some kind of been around. And we just had this bond, and we haven't even like really connected in probably several years. And then we started connecting, and it's like, bam, it's right there. It's like a soul connection. So
it's a soul connection.
Yeah. So I'm super excited.
I love your consciousness. I just love swimming in the depths of your consciousness. So I'm so glad that you're sharing this incredible
Thank you.
Show with the world.
Thank you. It seems to be creating a bit of a ripple pretty quickly, which is nice. A lot of people think it's one of the coolest things they've seen. So I'm very humble with that, because it's been sitting around there waiting to be birthed. And I'm like, and it's like, and I can't wait to bring the additional entertainment side of it, the variety show side of it. So that's coming soon too. It may already be there by the time you see this. So I don't know which time you're watching. But hey, we're creating out loud, so we don't have any rules. If things mess up, it's like, I don't know. Like, I just go for it. So anyway, I think based on what I know of you and like where you've come from, I'd love you to go back to little Katerina Satori and that little girl in Soviet Russia, and just kind of share a little bit about your journey, your story, like what you grew up with, what you saw, and where your soul was at that time, and then how you eventually trickled over here and spread your wings and came over. And we'll drop into all the details on the other stuff, but just kind of like that little piece of context, I think would be super important.
Oh, I love that. Well, one thing I want to share is that I have this love of beauty. It's always been in my soul, the love of everything elegant and artistic and beautiful nature. And when I was a little Katerina, my favorite story was The Ugly Duckling, because that's how I felt. I really, my hair was not this long and glorious. My hair was chopped off every month because my mom was just too busy and just barely surviving. I was raised by a single mother in Soviet Russia, and she just had me so young. So she was utterly unprepared for my arrival.
How old was she when she had you?
22.
Okay.
So, wow. You're a child, but that's a generation, right? So you're a child yourself.
Yeah.
And so I was an artistic child that had nothing in my environment that was really supporting and cultivating that. So I had to become very independent and search for my own artistic development, and my safety was libraries. I loved being in libraries surrounded by books, and the books were the portal to the other universe. I grew up in the
Totally.
far east of Russia, the city called Vladivostok, and
Nice.
my mom was working hard labor jobs just to provide some food and the shelter for my sister and I. And I grew up watching my mom having a very difficult life. And as a little kid, I remember making a decision: if I wanted to make anything different than my family, it would be up to me. Like, no one is coming, nobody's going to open any doors, nobody's going to pave the pathway for me. And I made this choice to develop a very strong mind and to develop people skills. I was
Huh.
like, because if you can find the key to people, right? If you can be helpful to other people, the opportunities will come. So you
Do
called
do
me
you
why?
think that your so not to interrupt you, but do you think that your soul kind of had that already innate inside you to have the search for beauty, for creativity, and also like oh, let's be wise. We're in a kind of a funky area. Like my mom's not around a whole lot, and our childhood. I didn't grow up in Russia, but I do have Russian in me, and
Mhm.
and I definitely grew up in a house that was not super cultivated around creativity or self expression or all that, and it was a bit heavy, and everybody was working hard and kind of shut down and all the things. But yeah, I was just curious if you feel like I always love to hear like that early stage of people. Like, was their
Mm.
soul, what was their soul naturally doing that might have got shut off later that they had to recover? Because I know that's what I had to do, but we'll see if you did. I don't know if you did or not. I think you did it differently.
Well, I just had these memories, Scott. The memories would come to me. And only later I would understand there was a memories of past lives, just a spontaneous flood of understanding or knowing, right? Like when I was barely 11 or 12 years old, I had this knowing that looks are not everything. And in the culture such as Russian culture, where the female beauty is like the highest possession, that this highest prize that you could have, right? It's very embedded in the culture. People are very objectified by how they looked, and they're judged by how they looked, right? So in I had this knowing as a soul knowing that looks are not everything, and looks can be gone and they will be gone. So you better develop some depth of your personality and some magnetism of your soul. So I was a naturally magnetic child, and people would be drawn to me and to my energy, and adults would be telling me their secrets and their troubles, and I was like a little therapist, little counselor. I wonder if you have had that as a child.
I Yeah, I think I was the one that brought the lightness. Like when things, I just always tried to make people laugh and feel good. It was kind of like the Jim Carrey story a little bit. It was like I
Mhm.
know when he was talking about his childhood that his mom had a mental illness, I think. And he did everything he could to go out and he'd go out and like make her laugh. And that was his thing. He just wanted to make people smile and make people laugh and feel good. And then he would go in his room and he would take out a yellow legal pad and start doing all this like spiritual writing and studying and things like that. And I feel like my way of doing that, my spirituality was actually through music and having a bunch of plants and raising fish and taking pictures and photography. Like that was my way to connect and tap into to the universe. Yeah.
Well, mine have always been nature and books. Another part of my growing up environment, it was very unstable and chaotic.
Yeah.
And since in Russia I grew up in Soviet Russia, where there was no self-help industry. Just imagine a country where there's no self-help, there is no books on mental health, right? So the number one remedy for people to go to discharge their stress and hopelessness about life is to pick up a bottle. So a lot of people were drinking, and drinking for several days
Totally.
at a time, right? That was my home environment. And
Yep.
where the drinking, there is anger, there is violence. So for me, it was always been about finding my escape into a different reality by reading books, and of course being in nature. And that drive for learning, like I've always had that drive for learning, is what actually was my path to creating a new life.
Amazing, amazing. And so when was the shift? When did you get the call, and what did you do, and how much money did you come over with? Because I remember that story pretty well. I think it's impressive because I think, it's like having these conversations with people. The more I dig into them more, and because you're so playful as well and you can handle it, it's like
Yeah.
nothing like I love that 1-2 punch of like, hey, let's drop into our hearts, let's share our deepest wisdom, our deepest stories,
Yeah.
and also have fun. But it's like, and I think a lot of times what's missing in this space is people are a little bit too like, oh, I've got all the wisdom. Here's the steps. I've got it all figured out. Everybody's been through shit. Every single one of
Oh,
us. I have had so many. I mean, I've been down on my knees 3 or 4 times and like busted and lost everything, make all this, lose it again. Try it because the universe is keeps going, you're on the wrong path, but you're not listening. We're just going to keep smacking you upside of the face with a dead fish. And it's like, I just saw a Monty Python thing, right? It was like the face slapping thing. It's like, so it's like, but yeah, I feel
mm,
like it's really good to hear the stories because you're in such a great space right now. But I mean, let's
mhm,
talk about coming over here from
mm.
scratch and what you had to do and how you started, because that's some big stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know how I shared that I was always passionate about learning, but I was also passionate about being of service to other people, just being helpful. So when Soviet Union collapsed, we had this inflood of American missionaries come to the country, and I would approach them on the streets and just start talking to them, practicing my English. And then that led to me being a volunteer interpreter and a translator. And when I met American people, they felt so different to my soul. They felt like they saw different possibilities. They were
Mm,
playful. They had a sense of humor.
yeah.
They felt to me that they believed that they could build their life
Mm,
on their terms, and that's not what I saw in Russia.
I know. I
So
know.
so immediately I had this desire that led to a dream to come to United States. And just to skip ahead for the sake of time, universe answers our intentions and our desire. An opportunity presented to me to actually come to us for a summer exchange program to work, right, to work. And I put all the savings, all the money that I had, I put it on this program, and I applied for this program, right. And my visa was denied.
Mm,
So it's really not easy to come to US, for especially for anybody who is in a developing countries. They look at you at immigration risk. So my visa was denied, and I could have just said, okay, this is the end of my dream, but I had a choice point. The destiny was giving me a choice point. I could apply to another consulate, but it was like 1,000 miles away. And I decided to take another risk. And I didn't have money for the plane. That was still in Russia. Didn't have money on the plane, but I could gather just a little bit of money for the train ticket. And that was the Trans-Siberian train that takes 6.5 days. So here I am,
wow.
6.5 days. I'm on the train after this next milestone of my dream, one more consulate that I can bring my papers again, and I say, I want to come to America for the summer, work
Mm.
really hard, save money so I could pay for my college in Europe. So I come to that consulate, and by persistence of my soul and by the passion, looking at that consulate of United
Soul to
States was
soul,
all
right into his eyes, right into his
soul,
heart.
like
Yeah.
soul to soul. And they said,
Yeah.
why do you want to come to United States? And I said, I am so inspired by the people of your country. What you believe is possible for me. So this little orator, like the speaker, arose in me, and I convinced him, and he said, yes, you can come, and he approved my visa. and
Wow.
uh, and and then I had to borrow the money for the plane ticket to Alaska. And I went to a mentor of mine, and I said, this is, and it took some humility, right? Like for me, it
Sure.
was it was so humbling to say, could I borrow $300 for this plane to Alaska? That's how far away it was,
Yeah.
how far along, 17 years ago. But the journey didn't stop there, because when I came to the capital of Alaska, Juneau, I didn't realize I had to take one more flight. And with the trembling hands, I'm counting the cash because this is before, credit cards, and I'm not a citizen of this country. I don't have a credit card. So unless
Right.
I can sell my kidney at the airport, what I have on me is what I have on me, right? So I'm counting and counting with my trembling hands, and I'm realizing I have just enough for that one more six-seater seaplane to take me to a town of Skagway, Alaska, where
Mm.
my job as a housekeeper awaits me.
Wow.
So, but when I counting the money and I paid for this last ticket, I literally had $3 left. And that's it, $3 to my name. So I began doing what, Scott? Well, like any smart immigrant do, I began saving crackers from the plane that they were giving me just to make sure I have something to
Wow.
eat.
I'm
Because,
not laughing. I'm actually like I'm
yeah.
connecting with your soul story with it. It's
Can you connect
yeah.
to my resourcefulness?
Yeah,
Resourcefulness.
yeah.
How much?
I had a few of those episodes myself after being, being a millionaire and then ending up in a I remember going shopping and having like four or five credit cards, and literally knowing every single dollar that was left on those, like $23 on this one, $21 on this one, and going into a store and having to count the numbers and putting it on the think can you put half on this and half on this, and putting food away, and I was too ashamed to tell anybody because I've already like hit that space in my life. It's a brutal place, and it's like that's happened to me a couple times in my journey because wasn't listening to the universe, and I kept getting, I didn't want to do the old stuff anymore, and I
Yeah.
had to do the newer thing, and I wasn't going all in on it, and
Mm.
it causes problems.
Yes. I love that story, Scott. Yeah, my lesson was a different angle. I was listening to the universe and I was following the signs, but I was being trained on a radical trust. Radical trust.
Yeah.
I remember getting off that plane and saying, I have arrived. Here's the promised land where I can spread my wings and create my dream life. Yes, I'm starting with $3. And my very first job is literally washing rooms and cleaning rooms at the hotel. But,
Wow.
my mindset at that time was the universe will never abandon me. If I have made it this far, I always look at the past from the perspective of the glass
Yeah.
overflowing. Like, look at all the proof that you have been protected and guided and taken care of. So I actually arrived to this country from the place of great victory and celebration, and I didn't mind starting low, starting as a housekeeper. That was actually a great sense of gratitude, for me, because you start being faithful and small, and then you expand and expand and expand.
Do you think, by the way, I feel like that's such a beautiful thing to just like hesitate on for a moment.
Okay.
Do you think that okay? So I grew up American. I grew up in in an area that like I feel like I was spoiled, but it was a very dysfunctional kind of environment. I always use that word, and people get mad. It's like we're all dysfunctional. We all had our shit. Like it's like nobody. I wasn't like I wasn't horrible. It was just like it was like it was a thing, and so there was a lot of kind of like my dad had that kind of work ethic like you're talking about, like and because he came from being an only child and being growing up in the depression and having to make ends meet and like support a family and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's like a lot of Americans, in my opinion, there's like a little bit more there can be entitlement or like be cushy, like being too comfortable, whereas like I'm listening to your story and I'm like going, wow, that is like it's the pure nature of gratitude because of where you came from and what that environment was like. The idea of coming here to be free and to have like anything is the sky is the limit. Seems
Yes.
like it's like a different mentality. It's a different energy, and I think that's why a lot of immigrants that come here, they're so excited because they're leaving, a more limited, restrictive, potentially dangerous environment. So I'm curious if that's something you feel was just naturally inbred because you were just grateful to be here.
Oh, it's definitely the immigrant code. It's an immigrant code.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I always saw my opportunity to be here just filled with possibilities. right? And the gratitude and the work ethic, but it's also this sense of daring because I came with nothing. There was nothing. I wasn't afraid to lose anything. I had nothing, right? So it's
Mm.
almost you start taking risks and bold
Yeah.
approaches, and you sculpt your desk. I had this pioneer spirit that that has really built this country, right? So yeah, and then that's what I inspire my community and the people who resonate with my message is awaken that pioneer spirit within you. It's an archetype that you can awaken, and never ever feel, never rest on on your previous wins, but really challenge yourself to open up that creative fire, which is rooted in this innocence, like a divine child, right? Like being
Yeah.
so rooted in your relationship with the universe, since it's a conscious show.
Yeah.
Where like my relationship with the universe is, this is a great adventure, and every adventure will have something unexpected, will have some trials and obstacles, but it's a great adventure. And the less I know how it's going to turn out, the more fun I'm going to have.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I remember there's a couple things that come up. There was Bill Hicks is one. He's like, he has this great bit about it's all just a ride, right? And
Mhm.
then all the books, like some of those books, I'm sure you've read some of these crazy ones. There's like the Jed McKenna books, and then there's the oh, what was it? Busting the money game myth or something like that. I forgot his name. And it wasn't even about money. It wasn't so much about that, but it's like this whole idea that like we're playing this game, and it's like if you look at it, the game was created. If we're truly infinite souls and infinite beings, and we're here to like be on this wild, crazy ride, then why would we create a game like if we're on the other side, right? And everything's like super easy, and we're like, hey, we're just love and light and bliss and all the things, and everything's rocking and rolling. Then it's like, why would we create a game that was that? Because we already had that. So we create this game, or God created the game, or the universe, whoever, whatever, created this game where it's like, oh, we're gonna go through all these different phases and all these different things to like see if we can get lost and try and limit the unlimited, and the eventual game is to wake the f up and remember who you are, and remember that who you really are is that joy in your spirit and that play in your spirit, and that it is a game, it is an adventure. Like our souls, I always have these jokes like our higher self. See, I was speaking in tongues already. They're channeling right through me. Um, it's like our higher selves and our souls are like, this is so much fun. The humans like laying in the gutter, armed cut off, just got beat up. It's like, and the humans like going, oh, this sucks, and the soul's going, this rocks. I'm learning so much. It's like, okay, if you say so. It's like, but I think that truly is what's happening at a divine level. And I think the more we can tap into that vibe and that energy to realize that even through what feels horrible and what feels painful, and even like the state of the world right now, there
Yeah.
is there is that joy waiting. And it's not spiritual bypassing, because we don't do that shit on this show, or I know Katerina doesn't. It's not bypassing anything. It's dealing and feeling what you got, but it's understanding that there's so much more inside you. And I feel like we're so disconnected as a populace that we get caught up and sucked into the lower vibrational and the different energies, and like that's what causes all this anger and depression, and we're not sharing our gifts, and we're scrolling and we're watching Netflix and chills and getting chills. Oh my god.
I I love that you brought that, Scott. And I'll add another piece. Like what if universe is, this is our love affair with the cosmos. This is our ecstatic, uh, tantric experience, right? What if the universe becomes your
The
beloved,
universe is
right?
sexy, baby, sexy.
It's so sexy. It's so sexy. Well, and it goes down to like really mastering our attitude. I just read Seth Godin, one of my favorite writers, said attitude is a skill, which is true. Is like your ability to choose an attitude at any moment, feel your experience, because you are in a human body, you are a feeling being,
Yeah.
feel the depths of experience, and then you choose what will you decide it means for you? For me, everything is an adventure, and I love sharing how the unknown can be a source of an anxiety or a source of the wild, inspiring adventure, and we get to choose.
I love that. I really do love that because it's like ego's not fun. You know what I mean? It's funny. Craig Shoemaker was on the other day, and he said he made a joke. He's the one. He's like this. You know, he's a really deeply spiritual guy, but he's like a total Philly comedian, and he's like he just says whatever the fuck's on his mind. Like he just doesn't care. And but he said he's like I divorced my ego because he was telling me a great story of how like he's in this big spiritual group and this guy called him out and says, you know, you got to leave that ego at the door, dude. It's like it's not becoming. And he really respected this guy, and he said he divorced his ego, and but you know the ego still wants to hang out, right? And it's like, and then I had this. This is my weird sense of humor. I'm in the washroom getting ready for this interview, and I just had this download. I'm like, yeah, it's like I divorced my ego, but it still wants to have sex with me. It's like it won't go away. It's like an unhealthy relationship, and but you
Yeah.
know, but I'm learning more and more over time is that ego is really just there to protect. It's a small little part of ourselves. It's not going to go away. We're not going to like beat it up and punch it and fight it away, but it's there to kind of show us who we're not. It's our limitations, and all we got to do is love it and just kind of move on to the next,
Yes.
you know, the next place where we go on adventures with Katerina.
Yeah, yeah, and you can dance with your ego too. You can invite it for a cup of tea, have a conversation.
Yeah,
You know, like yeah, like I am not a believer that we gotta like kill our ego. Like, okay, go ahead,
right.
try it.
Yeah,
But
good luck with
it's
that, right?
good luck with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's truly about what if you understand the role it's serving you and how it actually helped you and protect you in the past,
yeah.
and now you just get to educate about its true role. Mhm.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
So let's talk about were there any of those moments that were down for you that were like where you've had some really tough, challenging times?
Gosh, you love going there.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
because
love
I think
yeah,
it's important to share the
yeah,
you know the shizzle dizzle
yeah.
before that.
Oh, totally. No, no, I'm just teasing. I'm just being playful.
I know.
Yes. Yeah, well, the darkness is where like look at the lotus flower, right? Before we can truly bloom in our radiance, we are planted in the mud. We are
Ah,
planted
hanging
in
out in
the
that mud.
dark.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. So I am not a stranger to the dark moments. For me, Scott, my deepest suffering was connected to feeling that this lifetime is sacred, and this lifetime I came back to finish something that I've started in the previous lifetimes, and feeling the weight of my unexpressed potential that actually created a lot of internal suffering for me. And I would
yeah.
go spontaneously in this deep melancholy, and I just wasn't comfortable with how long it took for me to find my purpose, almost 10 years.
Oh
People
God,
meet me,
try
yeah,
20 plus, maybe longer.
20. Oh,
Yeah, it's
you
painful,
see,
painful.
it's so painful,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
so painful. Yeah, and I also, like the healing all of my childhood traumas didn't come until later. It's I think my first dark night of the soul when I was 28 years old, and I've experienced my very first just a major existential crisis, right, about the meaning of this life and the nature of love between people. And I descended into this deep, dark hole that I couldn't get out of. But and that darkness actually led me to the breakthrough into the light. So, and it also prepared me for the work that I'm doing right now. I'm not afraid of the darkness. When people come to
right.
me in crisis, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah, yeah,
afraid of it. I can
yeah,
I can sit with them.
yeah. I get that. I get that.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay, we're
good.
back. See, what happened was Katerina
We
was
are
telling
back.
this story, and like she was talking about our dark side, and all of a sudden she got all fuzzy, and so hopefully she's back because she's back in her body now. She was like part of her was like there was a tiny unhealed part that was trying to mess with our video, so she was trying to get. Oh, and it's back again. Oh well, you know what? We do our best. We do our best. Fuzzy or unfuzzy, we finish our shows because
I
the sounds great, which is important. So that's just the best.
I I love being fuzzy inside, like from the place of warmth and tenderness. Yeah, very fuzzy and
You're
loving
very warm
being.
and fuzzy.
I'm very warm and fuzzy. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just like, I guess my message when it comes to the dark chapters, and I've
Yeah.
been through so many of them. Gosh, Scott, I had, one of my favorite stories is how my soul is actually called my butt to my higher purpose when I found myself in the shadow of addiction for almost a year, a little bit more than a year. I was so disillusioned and just I broke up with the man that I thought I was going to marry, and I was feeling like I lost 3 years, 2 years of my life, and I just took a giant detour. And being a high performer, it was just challenging for me to bear the guilt of my actions that I felt that I had to carry. So it was just
Yeah.
descending and descending and descending. And somebody introduced this drug to me that just made me feel invisible. And talking about shame, I
Mm.
found this substance that I could perform even more on. And it was introduced to me in entrepreneurial circles. They're like,
Ah,
yeah,
those
try this.
entrepreneurs.
Oh, those entrepreneurial circles. But
Yeah, what was
like
it? What was it?
it was a research chemical called MXC that
Huh.
quickly was taken off the market. It's very similar to ketamine, but just imagine that lasts 3 times longer, and also dissociates you from feeling your pain, which is perfect for anybody who doesn't want to deal with their trauma.
Sure,
Just
don't want to
take
deal with your stuff. Yeah, just take it's like
exact
I remember growing up
take a
there
hit.
was George Carlin used to do a great little bit on St. Joseph's. He's like, it's all right. It was like an aspirin for kids. It was like, it's all right, son. Two in the mouth. It's all
Uh,
right. So anyway,
It's
yeah,
all
go
right.
go ahead.
Exactly, exactly. So, and that's where I found myself just using it more and more and more, and being really effective at hiding what is happening behind the scenes. And I remember one night I was so high, so checked out of my reality, just in my own space. And then the voice came through, and it was the voice of my higher self. And the voice said, enough, child. You've had your fun. Your mission is waiting for you.
Damn.
And it shook me to the core, Scott. And I had like a half a pound of that stuff. And I took it with trembling hands and I dumped it all
Down
into
the
the
toilet.
toilet. Yes,
Right out of a movie scene right there.
I'm telling you, this could be. I'm telling you, it's well. I'm a Leo. Everything is like very theatrical and dramatic,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I went cold turkey, and I went cold turkey. But what that experience taught me is that I was incapable of being present with my reality. So I was searching for anything to take me out of the reality, and to not feel the pain of existence, right? And when I went cold turkey, I had to face the present moment and to actually learn how to feel again, and how to become, in acceptance of all my lessons and all
Yeah.
of my detours. People tell me, gosh, you are so wise. And I'm like, look, all that wisdom comes from thousands unwise choices,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of
Right?
course, because it's the ride is what we do here.
It's the right.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes. So
yeah.
so that's the story of the deep dark moment when the soul speak, and you cannot ignore that call.
No, no. It's like it gets loud. I mean, that's the call between life and death, really. It's like
Hmm.
that's when someone who's addicted can either end up dead or they that's the wake up call, you know. And I feel like you said something very powerful that I'd love to unwrap with you as well, because that was something that I didn't do for a long time on the spiritual path, and I had all this shame and guilt around like, oh, it's like I'm doing everything they tell me to do and my life still kind of sucks. You know what I mean? It's like just do this and just do this. And if you feel any pain or suffering, then you're not connected. Like you're off. And there's some truth to being disconnected and feeling the thing. But what I learned, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it took me a while because I'm a slow learner, a slow learner soul. Who the heck I don't know. And what I had to learn is like, and I'll give credit to where credit's due. It actually came from Kyle Cease because at that time I was hanging out with him a lot and listening to him. And it was really like this idea of holding space for those parts of yourself, and to
Mm.
sit with that frickin' pain and cry it out if you need to, and scream at the pillows, but just realize like the more you do that, you're de-arming that part of that shadow that's the one that's causing all your pain and suffering and sabotaging your life, because you're ignoring that part. It's like a little kid who's screaming and punching, and you're like, no, no, Netflix and chill, Instagram scroll. It's like
Yeah.
alcohol, sex addiction. Like, it's all the things, because most people on this planet, and hopefully that's changing since the last 2 or 3 years, don't want to deal with that shit. And the thing is, it's really the best way and probably the only way that I know.
Mm.
Maybe ayahuasca. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
To literally be present with all those pieces of yourself and realize it's not you. It's an entity. It's a story. It's a piece of you, like a part of you that broke away. That's like trying to protect you from whatever happened in the past, whether it's your childhood or when you were king of Egypt or something like that. So, boy, I'm on a roll today. I'm having all kinds of fun. I think it's the spirits. But yeah, that was a huge wake up call for me. Like when I
Yes.
started doing that and going,
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit with this. And there's nowhere to
Yeah.
hide. There's nowhere to hide anymore. And the urge, like your ego wants to run away. It doesn't want to hang out. It doesn't want to hear it. But man, you just start hearing like, oh, I just want to be loved, or I just want to be seen, or I just want
Mm.
to play.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I love that you share that, Scott, because the big thing that shifted me out of that addiction, beside the voice of the higher self that sounded like archangel just came through the roof, was the realization that we cannot selectively numb our pain.
Yeah.
When we numb our pain, we numb our joy, and we begin to live these flat, gray lives.
Yeah, like flatlining. for
Yeah,
for
like
real. Yeah,
whoa.
it's very kind of like status quo kind of company. Don't not, can't have too much fun. Can't go too much into this. We're just gonna like we're kind of a zombie, but we're not gonna tell anybody. We got a nice mask on. You
That's
know,
right.
lots of pain inside, but it's like you're not gonna know about it. So I got a good life. Making money, living in the house, driving the car, or whatever. And
Yeah,
meanwhile,
yeah,
like, okay, but you're really inside. You feel like you want to die. Like so it's a wake up call. It's a wake up call, and everyone's on
right.
their own journey with that. And all I can say, from my perspective, please listen to it sooner than later, because I was one of those people that started with the whispers and the little whispers, and then the red shiny eyes, and feel like I was getting beat up from the inside out. And then one 2x4, then two, and then a big cinder block and a couple brick buildings like smashing over me, going, oh, you mean that path isn't good anymore? It's like, and that's why I'm unhappy and miserable and sick all the time.
Mm, hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I say listen to the joy inside of you. You know, when you desire to listen to live a joyful life, gosh, please give yourself permission. You can be happy, you can be joyful, right? And it starts with what Scott said. Exactly, just feeling and feeling your heart. For me,
Yeah,
everything began, Scott, is
hearts.
like this incredible exercise that one of my teachers told me is like when I felt deeply numb inside, especially after my first divorce,
Yeah.
I felt like there was a cement from my throat to the belly, cement. And I couldn't even cry for 2 years. And the journey to awakening and to melting that cement was sit and listen to your heart. Like imagine physically your heart is there and start talking to it.
Well, that's another thing too that I think is a great point you bring up. So I have a disclaimer here on this show. The disclaimer is it's not all about pain, and you don't have to live a life like that. I think what I'm suggesting is if there's parts of you, if you feel all this stuff inside you and you're not listening to it, start listening to it, like love it, and realize that the biggest takeaway on that, there's two. One of them is what you just said too, which we'll come back to because that's my favorite part, because you could see it all over this show right now with you. But I think the ability to one of the biggest abilities to know, because I have people that I know that are like family members and stuff, that they think that this is who they are, that this head,
Mm,
let
mm,
alone let
mm.
alone let alone the body and all that and the personality. But they think these thoughts are like who they are. They're like, I'm this and I'm that and I can't and da da da. And it's like, and I lived like that for a long time, so I know what that's like. But when you can start to like pull that little separation out, where it's like, oh, I'm actually like the observer guy, not to be all Eastern, but yeah, I'm going to be
Yeah.
all Eastern right now.
Yeah.
The observer, the spirit, the quiet part of us,
Mhm.
and then you can watch that noise, and then you can start like going, oh, I feel like really depressed. Okay, like let's talk to that depression. Who are you? What's going on? As opposed to like I'm depressed. And I'm not. Let's go. Like everyone talks about. I have no money disclaimers. I'm not giving anyone who's clinically depressed or any of that stuff. I'm just saying that we repress healthy people repress our feelings a lot. And when you do that, that's when you start feeling depressed because you're disconnected from your heart and your soul and your true essence. And that's why it fucking hurts. And I get passionate, and that's an F word on the mostly conscious late night show. So it's, but I think it's important to realize that, like for me, I didn't. I didn't get back to my joy as much until I started clearing some of that out. But I think you
Mhm.
can go straight to the joy too. You don't have to. But I think when that stuff comes up, you got to give it some space. You got to because the heart truly is the biggest blessing that we have. It's an energetic thing, and it's a human thing. It's it's just where all the joy is, and the love, and the high frequencies, and the laughter. And I can feel it opening right now. Like I had the same thing you did. It's like from hair down, I couldn't get past hair. It felt like there's a brick.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's still there. Shh. But then
Yeah.
when I get with my peoples, then it opens right up because I'm like I got my tribe, like my people,
Yes.
my high vibers bring it right
Yes.
out because it's just
The high
yeah.
vibers.
Plus I'm on purpose right now, so I'm having it's coming out more and more, which is good.
Ah, beautiful. Well, I'd like to suggest anybody who is listening to this incredible show that you created, if you're struggling to go direct to joy, your access point is the path of beauty. So the beauty will open your heart. And what I mean by that is looking at the flower, looking at anything beautiful, a sunset, a tree. That is the
Yeah,
bridge. That is the bridge that will soften the resistance
yeah.
and actually soothe the sadness. That's why when we begin to heal, we naturally desire to spend a lot of time in nature, a lot of time with maybe looking at the art. Why art is so important in our life? Because art takes us out of our logical brain and into our creative dimension where we look at art and we are transformed. So spend time in art galleries, go to museums, right? Surround yourself by inspiration and your inspiration will come
And
online.
music too. Music
You,
is
oh,
music.
thank you.
The right kind of music, high vibe, good music that speaks to your soul.
Yes.
Is
Oh, music is a universal language. I'm so
yeah.
glad you brought it up.
It's. I think there's like laughter, music, a good human story movie. Love and even just like closing your eyes because everyone talks about hey make a gratitude journal or talk about what you love and people are like yeah whatever blah, blah I feel you don't know what I'm feeling and what you realize is like it's all energy right we're energy beings and this is quantum physics this is truth and I know this from experience and I'm sure you do too. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm opening my heart. I'm breathing so heavy. It's like
Yeah.
if you're feeling stuff, if you're feeling heavy, feel it, don't ignore it, but then just like you can start just because it's like Abraham Hicks stuff, which I'm a fan of, but I think there's more to that as well. But I think it's like this you can feel like the more you tap in, especially if you meditate a lot and you give space to yourself and you're out in nature, you can really feel the vibrations shift like oh
Yes.
it's like what do I love right now oh I love the blue skies I love the sunshine in my face I love these warm breezes at night in Texas and I love the hot days in Texas right now. um, that was kind of a little sarcasm right there and I love playing my pianos and I love playing
Mm.
guitar and I love writing songs and I love my relationships, how beautiful they are, and how heart centered they are, and how much fun they are, and you just start shifting, and that it shifts your entire thing, and I think that's part of our job, moment to moment, and it becomes a practice like anything else, you know.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that you share that. And then eventually you'll be guided to this realization that you can choose to be love and everything you desire to receive from others when you shift your approach and you begin to give what you desire to receive, you everything you desire will begin to chase you.
Yeah, and
Right?
what's
That's
up? What's
that's
that? That's like a universal law, isn't it? Pretty
I'd say
much.
what's up What's up with that, Scott? It is a universe.
It's a universal freaking law that works. And if we don't pay attention, guess what?
Yeah. Guess what? It's gonna work every time.
It
It
really
really
truly does.
works.
Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
give love,
You know,
give money, give service, like all the things.
sometimes like it's so funny because I have like this deep introverted version of me,
Me
and
too.
right, and this big social self, an extroverted version. So I think it's like this is an integration. But in the times where I get lonely, maybe
Lonely.
I
I'm a bit
become the
lonely right now, I have to say.
the times where I become lonely, Scott, maybe it's like right approaching the full moon, and I'm just like, oh, I feel
Uh,
lonely,
right.
right?
I
That's
would like
my
to make out with a spiritual man right now under this moon. Hey, you know what? I feel the same way. I like if
Oh
I, if I
my
could
god!
find like I would like my soulmate in that moment instead of sitting on that balcony by myself. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh my god! It's just so funny. Thank you for making me laugh. Yeah, but basically the anchor is who, like, where, how can I connect? And when instead of just dwelling in my loneliness, okay, I'm gonna give myself 1 minute of dwelling, and then the very powerful question is, who can I connect and who can I feel important and valued and seen right now? And it's really
Yeah.
powerful because then you move through your reality as the field of love, right?
Right.
And
Right.
at first it's a conscious effort, and then you activate the power of that. You realize you will always feel uplifted when you come out of your
Into
isolation,
the
right?
power of love.
Yeah, into the power of
Be loved.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, but aren't you also talking about, so it's connection, but isn't it also connection to yourself? Because
Yes.
we obviously don't need other people, but I know as humans, we are definitely, some of that, like and it's our part of our animal species. I think that's what we are.
Yes.
So it's like, and I'm very guilty of isolation, personally speaking.
Mhm.
Um, that's been an ongoing pattern. And I wonder, because, it's funny when I watch you on social media and stuff, I'm like, you know what? You're alone a lot. And I remember talking to you and I'm like, we're so the same in so many ways. Like,
Yeah.
deeply connected, very like spiritual is like number one with us, our connection to source and having all that sacred space and sacred time. We come alive and we're with other people, but then we're like, okay, see ya. I'm going back to my spiritual cave and where I belong and hang out. And
Yeah.
and I wonder if that's like part of our DNA or part of our like our particular souls, or people that are very sensitive or very connected, that like you need a lot of time to not be part of the collective consciousness too much, because it gets really heavy and you got to kind of let go and cut cords and ground and all that woo woo stuff, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought it's like the more we get to know who we are and what our needs are currently, because with every season of life, our needs change, right? There is
Yeah.
some seasons, like in the winter, I channel my Russian inner bear. And I'm very introverted, but in the summer, I'm so like, oh, I'm attending all the community gatherings and I'm with friends and with beloveds and all of
Got
it.
it. Got it.
So it's so depending on the season, but
Yeah, I get
I'm
it.
with you, Scott. I'm with you, Scott. I love my solitude time. I
Yeah.
love silence, but I also let me, maybe that's another piece. If you channel your creativity,
Yeah.
silence and solitude is how you connect with your creative muse, right?
Yes. 100%.
So it's actually a nourishment. It's another way you nourish your creative soul, the way I could nourish my creative
Yeah.
soul.
No, I agree 100%. I think it's like for me, when different types of creativity, right? There's like the creativity of, if it's a spoken word piece or a music piece, I tend to like really want to be in my own space, especially spoken word, because spoken words, like, to me, is like, that's my Brandon AF side a bit. Like, it seems to be, for whatever reason, there's like a lot of like that energy, a vibe. And whereas my music is much more soulful and more like, because when I was playing piano as a kid, I would sit there for hours and hours and hours and just play with my eyes closed and improvise and see all these colors in my head. My body would fade away, and it was just this place of like solace, right? And but now I'm starting to crave, like, I want to collaborate. I want to be with producers and other musicians and songwriters, And the other thing I was going to say is then for the comedy side, a lot of that comes from being out, being out with
Yeah.
people. So I get these ideas, and it's like, especially being in our industry, like, oh my God, the comedy that we have, and especially coming from our own lives. I mean, I don't poke fun at everybody else. It's like the own dramas I put myself through on this self help path and spiritual path. It's like I have a sketch that I'll do a teaser out. I don't know if it's going to be out before this or after, but it's like having an intervention. Like my higher self is coming in and basically giving me a bunch of shit about what I'm going. Like it's like, yeah, you're gonna be this and you're gonna be that and da 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 da. He goes, you know what? And wannabe is this. And it's like gonna bees don't get no honey. It's like that's what Les Brown used to say. And it was like, and I was like, my character is all serious, like, oh, I'm doing all this great. I'm doing my Wim Hof breathing and meditating, and I've got my crystals. I'm doing all my stuff, and it's like, and I'm like, nothing's happening. Like, what's there? Because there's no action. There's no action. So I think, and that's a great segue. Actually, it's a fun one, but it's a segue to go into, I think, a little bit about the creative expression and finding your voice and your purpose, and also the missing piece, which is not in stuff like The Secret and things, and just visualizing, is doing it, doing it. Because I got to
Yes.
tell you, this show with this new technology and all this thing in studio and all that, this put me through the damn ringer, and I'm just getting started with it, and I'm like, I'm so out of my comfort zone, and I'm so had to learn all these new skills and all this stuff, and I was like, and you know what, it's worth every second of it because it's beautiful and it's
Yes.
unfolding, and I'm growing and I'm evolving, and it's badass. So yeah, so there.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, I'm here for the creative process, Scott. I love the creative process itself. I love taking the idea from the archetypal plan or receiving an idea from the higher self and then partnering up with it. Like
Yeah.
literally partnering up and say, let's go on adventure on the journey. And then being in the creative dance, it's really everything that I have built in my life is a result of taking my creativity and turning it into a product or a service or an experience and sharing it with the world.
Yeah.
So I truly take a stand for empowered, prosperous creatives. This is our
Nice.
time.
Nice. Yeah,
This is
totally.
our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was trying to get at too is I think that I stand for that. That's something that's a big value for me, and that's what I do in my own life because I am a creator and an artist and an entertainer kind of person.
Yeah.
Um, and stepping in and embodying those gifts, and I think that my part of my work and service is not only doing it through this show and sharing my own art and these beautiful people that I get to have on, but I think it's also like it's helping other people tap into that themselves. Because before I was coaching everybody on business, and I know you were as well. And I did that for like 20 something years, and it was really always about helping them really tap into who they really are in their heart and soul first anyway. But at the end of the day, it's now I want to really focus on helping people break free and free themselves to really step into that to their soul, their DNA, their soul song, their alignment, their own voice, their own expression, and just get past all this stuff. And actually, and that's why I love the phrase, and I use it in my own work, the phrase creating out loud, because that's how I started to break free. It's like, you know what? It's like I'm not waiting till I'm like Oscar worthy or Grammy worthy
Yes.
or perfected like Usher on stage. Like I'm gonna turn on the damn camera and start playing. And I think that one piece right there, if people can embody that and understand that they're worthy and that it just takes a little courage and there are no mistakes, but it's how you break free. And
Yeah.
you find that truth inside yourself that you could share with the world. And that's the medicine for yourself, for your
Mm,
family, for your friends, and for all the people that you serve in your world.
mm, mm. Oh, so beautiful. And I'm in such resonance with that. And then your creativity begins to serve as a pair of wings to ascend to the new dimensions of your reality.
Yeah.
And then it's returning to the childlike innocence, right? And I've created a lot of things in my life, and what always liberates me is this phrase that I share: do you wait or do you create? You can always
Damn.
Yeah, you can always wait for more confidence, but you actually gain confidence
By doing
when you
and
create
creating.
by
Yeah.
doing it.
Well,
Yeah.
what's the number one thing in people's way that have this calling? Because I look at it from two different levels, maybe three. But there's a level of people that know they're here for something big or not so big. It doesn't have to be this monstrous thing like us crazy people. But they're here for something way bigger than what they're being right now, and they feel it, and they're called, and I was one of these people. Just like your soul is just going, come on, let's go. It's like, what the heck are you doing? Like, come on already. It's like, how long do you think you're gonna be on this planet in that human suit? We gotta play, we gotta do this stuff. So there's those
Yeah.
people, they're kind of stuck. And I know you're great at getting people unstuck,
Hmm.
and the clarity piece. And then there's the people that are already out there doing things at a higher level. But guess what? This is where I come in too, and I'm sure you do as well. I'm like, I can see and know and feel that you're not actually in your full alignment yet.
Mm.
You're doing what you think you're supposed to do. You're doing what you think you were taught to do, but you're missing part of your soul in your work and in your voice and in what you're giving the world. And that's the thing that I want to help people with is like I want to build this big huge army of people that want to change the world. Like they're badass spiritual warriors and creative rebels and people that want to go out there and rock the world and use their own unique gifts and create. But I'm talking, I want to get them to tap into their creativity they might not know they have or that they've been
Mm.
avoiding, because I think
Mm.
you're part of this industry. You know, there's a lot of talking heads out here. We're doing it right now, but look how creative our background is. and and this is a variety show, so there will be music and entertainment and comedy. So just hold tight, people. I I think what I see though is I think there's so many people, and I see it in my own work. There's so many people that want to sing or do improv comedy or to write poetry or to tell a story or to speak or to do a monologue, and they don't feel good enough and they don't feel courageous enough and all the things that go with that. So I'm wondering what you say to that, because I feel like that's my calling. I know yours is like more in the creating and transforming people. But I think there's that call also because, like you said, I think we're in a time right now where the artists are being called, the creators are being called, and it's not just if you're a dancer or a singer necessarily, but I think everyone has those gifts. We all did as kids. Some people just want to play with pencils and do numbers, and that's their gift. That's awesome. But not in my watch. Oh my God, we're having fun today, aren't we? Shit.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, let's go there, Scott. Well, it's one of the core human wounds. It's the wound or fear of the wound of rejection. And it's much easier to play safe and to be what you think people expect you to be, right? Because then you're gonna keep this shallow acceptance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But your soul will never unfold in its full majesty. So the very first step is to realize that nobody can reject you. Only you have that power by believing somebody can reject you.
Mm,
So it starts with letting go of this pattern of self rejecting, right? And just realizing nobody has that power. So, and then transforming that fear of rejection through trust of the next moment. It's very similar to in improv. A lot of times people think that they need to trust the next 5 years. It's impossible.
right.
Can you dare to just trust the next moment?
Live an improv
And
life. Live an improv
live
life.
it living improv life,
Yeah,
exactly. And then
yeah.
it's also your true message will come out gradually. If my higher self told me years ago, 8 years ago, that I will be teaching this mystical esoteric teachings, I'll lead mystery school movement, I would say hell no, absolutely
And you
no.
you
This is
started early on when I met you. You were doing mostly business coaching, weren't you? Same as
Yeah,
me.
it was a
Yeah,
business coaching
yeah,
and there
yeah.
was a relationships coaching.
Right.
For me, it was a very gradual experience
Yep.
because to step directly into the core of the core of the core would be terrifying. So the higher self is very wise. It pre-schedules these upgrades of our confidence and courage, but we're led. So just follow what you're deeply inspired right now. Uh, choose to consciously let go of this fear of rejection every single day if you need to, and just trust the next moment. Just say to yourself, I trust the next moment. This is the anchoring phase. And then turn on the camera, make a proposal, paint, write, sing, dance, right? Definitely take improv classes.
Oh
You've been doing
God.
that for a
I
lot.
haven't done it in a while and I miss it, but I mean, you can see that
Mm,
I feel like I'm much more of an improv person and a sketch person than I am like, I couldn't really do stand up. I probably could do stand up because I got the funny
mhm.
gene, but
Yeah.
I feel like improv, that's why hosting is really fun for me. Cause like, I've been that way my whole life. Like I hear something and I can instantly see the funny response to that. I know when to shut up and be serious when we're talking about something heartfelt. And
Yeah.
it's kind of an innate gift. But I will tell you, improv comedy, I think everyone in the world should take it. I remember taking, I took it in San Diego when I lived there for a while. And one of the things I took was a musical improv class. So check this out. Musical improv class, you gotta literally go in there. There's no talking. You have to sing your entire improv scene. So it's like, it's really
Mm.
fun. And I remember we're just in there on stage doing like warm up games and we're doing the stuff and I was just giggling and laughing and I had this moment. I'm like, if everyone in the world literally took this and felt this way, there would
Mm.
probably be no disease, probably no
Mhm.
racism, no hatred, no depression. Like honest to God, that play is just so freaking important. I can't even,
Mhm.
and it's funny because sometimes I put it away and I'm like, oh no, we got to talk about all the spiritual evolution. Ascensionism. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, my spirit guys are funny as hell. Like my guys are
Yeah.
funny. And I'm very serious and I'm very, I'm serious about my work, but I don't take myself so seriously when I do. Then the ego's back trying to get it on with me. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's like, and that's really it. And I think that's really it's like that part versus this part. Can you see it? It's the heart right there. Boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom. That's the part. That's the part that literally, if we can bring the mind into
Yes.
the heart and let the heart cleanse that part of ourselves, and
Mm.
let the ego, the smaller part of ourselves, serve the higher part of ourselves, then we're finally in alignment. Because it's like I got you, and I got you, and that's
That's
it.
right.
And there's been so much, unknown and people dying and like it's just not it's just not we can't keep wasting time. And I wish
Yeah.
is like there's an old saying I grew up with from my old school is like, youth is wasted on the young. And I think
Mhm.
nowadays maybe not so much as when I grew up because people are coming in all awake, those indigo crystal kids who I just want to
Wow.
like slap across the face because they're so damn awake. I'm like, we had to do all the hard work, and it's like you guys come in and go, oh, that's the Matrix. I don't want to play that shit. It's like, I mean, it's really funny, but it's like I feel like that's the thing. And
Mhm.
I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but I think you got it.
I got it.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
got it. Yeah, we're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. And
yeah,
then the next generations will be standing on the shoulders of our courageous decisions and our playful. And
yeah.
like for me, like, oh my gosh, Scott, fun has become such a top value for me. It used to not be. It used to be like growth and evolution and
I
ascension and all of
remember.
that.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, recently it's just really it's so much about fun because when we play, we are truly fully living. And I find that some of my most brilliant ideas come to me when I play.
for
And then
sure.
I launch my creations from that playful state, and they're just fruitful,
Isn't it because
inspiring.
when you're in your fun and in your joy and you're laughing, you're pretty much in the same vibration as love, right? Like
Yes.
which means then you're connected to the highest vibration that really exists.
Yes.
And
Yes, you said it so well.
yeah, and
Mhm.
that's really the big thing that I think so many of us forget about or miss. And look, it's not to and again, like I have a big heart, like I have a very big heart. I love people. And I think it's so important to realize that no one's discarding like, hey, people, with cancer or losing a loved one or a horrible, trauma that happened. Like no one, none of us are ever discounting that. We're just talking about finding when you can, finding some joy, finding some play in the moment, and help yourself release some of that heavy that heavy stuff, because I always share about like my parents when they were both, close to their passing days. They had their sense of humor all the way to the end, and they were suffering so much, and they just
Mm,
kept making jokes and making fun and playing. It was always there,
mm,
even though their bodies were disintegrating and starting to go, and their souls were ready to tap out of here. It was like watching them. I couldn't stand the suffering, but I loved the laughter.
mm,
And I think
mm.
that's something that I feel blessed with, that I've always had in our family. Even during all these crazy times we had, there was always some sense of laughter in there. It's kind of like Archie. I was saying, I don't know, if, not all the millennials are like, who the hell is Archie Bunker? Archie and Edith. What was it? What show was that? All in the Family. Like there was a lot of laughter in that dysfunction. It was kind of similar in my house. There was
Mm.
a lot of because some things that were said were so like off. You're like, that's so wrong, but it's funny. So it's like that's part of how we enjoy ourselves. Anyway, what a beautiful thing. I feel like I could go on for hours still. But
Mm.
is there anything hot on your spirit right now? Keep it in the closet, people. Keep your mind out of the gutter. God dang.
Well, I feel what is most authentic for me right now is letting go of my addiction to knowing and diving into the freedom of not knowing, and living without this with this projection of the future, of anticipation of the future, but actually becoming more and more childlike. It doesn't mean that you let go of your dreams or your projects or your goals. Play with them, have those plans,
Right, right.
but really, really becoming curious and adventurous in spirit, like
Mm,
waking up, I wonder what's going to happen today. Remembering that you are not the one who has built the planets and created the solar system. There is something much wiser and more ancient that guides us all,
yes.
and stepping into relationship with that from the place of playfulness and innocence, and reclaiming my sense of awe, right? Seeing other people as children, seeing the children within them, reclaiming my sense of awe, like, wow, how much wonder can I cultivate? And it takes that level of, I don't need to know how the world is going to go. I
Yeah.
can be in my magic, and I can really, really follow that. That's
Magic.
what's alive.
I still love the word magic, and I guess we all do.
I love the
It's
word
probably
magic.
it's
We all,
and wonderment too. Maybe that's part of the little
yeah,
spirit in us, the little soul, the little kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what would you recommend? What would be a great first step for people that maybe haven't done 20 years of work or 15 years of work or whatever, and but they're, I mean, don't you think that's what's happening on this planet right now? Like, does it's like they're turning up the juice. Like the juice is being turned up, and it's like there's no coincidence. Like the darkness right now is like running around like cockroaches, freaking out, trying to grab everything they can and control it, and like there's this big awakening going on. There's just it's like I call it the Great Awakening. I don't particularly like the Great Reset. I'm just saying, and I think that is like the calling right now. And I think there's a lot of people that have been doing the work that are probably getting lighter every day because we've been doing it so long. And then there's kind of like the people that are just starting to pop out, like popcorn, and go, oh, there's definitely something that I feel calling me, or that I haven't done yet, and I feel this energy inside me, like there's this passion. And so, what would be like some good couple steps to help people step into that expression of themselves, to step into, to give themselves permission to do it messy and do it sloppy, and follow their hearts and their joy and all that beautiful high energy stuff that makes you feel so beautiful and so alive,
Yes, spend as much time as you can outside in nature. Nature is divine, nature is the goddess, and nature is the mother of all of us. And this is your number one go-to therapist, is nature. Learn to listen to the sounds of nature, learn to decode her messages. That's the big one, is a really, really big one. And then the second one is learning to act on your inspiration, realizing that no one is coming. No one is coming to save you. No one, there's just no one is coming. Because why? Why is it such a
I
good
know.
news? It's a really good news. When I realized
It
that, I was
is.
like,
I thought
boom,
they were coming though. Oh my
no one
God.
is coming.
I
Scott,
went
no
through
one
that
is
phase.
coming.
I went through a phase in my life. I actually wrote a book on it. I I haven't published it yet, but it was called "Living in a Human Suit." One man's hilarious romp through self-help hell, God, and the search for life, or like the meaning of life, or
Yeah.
something. I just gave away my title. Don't steal it. It's trademarked, y'all. Um, but it's like there was a moment in my
Oh.
life, like I went through that phase when I first woke up. I'm like, do you have my answers? Do you can you read the magical thing on my forehead that says my? I literally believe this. Like there was someone like
Yeah.
I studied with a teacher. She's like, I can see your life purpose, but I can't tell you. I'm like, oh, shut up. But I didn't say shut up until after I was going. Can you tell me what it is first? You know what I mean? It was like I did the pendulums and the alchemicals and like oh
What?
my God, like putting
Alchemilkers?
I don't like just all these different things.
So,
I was sharing.
so
I used
no
to
one
do
is
like
coming.
six. I used to do 6 or 7 hours of rituals a day, to like bless the damn, like bless everything. And meanwhile, they're coming taking all my furniture and stuff away. So I'm like, so it's been a real ride. And that wake up call right there is like the two biggest wake up calls. One of my head was like, why are the masters always laughing? I got that from my
Yeah.
teachers. I figured out why they're laughing because they see how insane we are in our
Mhm.
egos. And number two, their lesson was that, like you just said, no one's coming to save you. No one has your answers. No guru blueprint formula is going to give you. It's not. It's like it's all inside here. Yes, you can get mentors. We all do that. There's great mentors that'll like reflect. If they're good, they're going to reflect back your truth to you. They're not going to give you little formulas, because at the end of the day, it's your beautiful inside pharmacy and spiritual library that's going to set you free. It's not anybody else's
Oh,
permission. You know what I mean? That was channeled. Thank y'all.
yes. And thank you for that. Thank you. That was a liberated truth for me, Scott, because oh my goodness, all of those years waiting for my soulmate to arrive. Okay, the soulmate arrives, and then I'm gonna start being leading my life. So this
Yeah.
obsession with twin flames. Can we just drop the twin flame conversation?
It's a good
I
marketing.
cannot.
It's a good marketing thing, right?
Just can we just stop searching for the freaking twin flame and real and realize
There she
and,
is.
re- and realize it is you are the soulmate, and
Yeah.
everyone else is, you have a hundreds of soulmates in,
Right.
in,
It's
in
not
your
one.
soul group.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not one, so let go of the scarcity thinking.
Right.
And yeah, but that's a big piece, Scott, for me, was no one is coming to save you now. Wow, I have no excuse to play small, and I have no excuse to hide in waiting, right? I get to start doing what I came here for, which is creating. And I just had a hiccup.
That's okay. I've had a couple hiccup burps on the side over here myself. We keep it real on this show, people. It's funny. I'm having like I feel like this show's like every interview is getting more like this, but I know it depends on who comes on. But I feel like I'm getting into that Craig Ferguson vibe. Like they had so much fun on his show. Like he just had
Yeah.
people crack up on his show. I miss his show because he was constantly knocking NBC. He's like, they don't give us any money. It's like, look at our fake horse. Like he just had so much fun, and he just like went wherever he wanted to go. Like I just love
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
still be a beautiful human being.
Yeah, I'm glad I could laugh about twin flame conversation with you, because it's just getting out of your hand, it's just getting out of the hand. And yeah, so the twin flame, one is running, another one is chasing, and 10 signs that you found your twin flame.
And you know
Have you
what?
found your
They're not all they cut out to be either. They're kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
they're your karmic power,
Right. They
your
are literally
karma.
like, I'm going to hold up a mirror of you. Like, if you're not healed, you're going to have every trigger
Yes,
pushed in your body. It is a
every in your
tough,
face.
I had one of those. It's a tough, they're beautiful.
Yes,
Like the love is like, oh my God.
right.
And the chemistry and like that part of it. But man, is there a lot of like, energy going on. It's a
Yes,
great learning tool, but you got to be excited for it, which I'm not right now.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Over it, over it.
So the subject of creating out loud is one of my favorite ones. So you talked about having, like looking for beauty and getting inspired and tapping into that joy and all that beautiful stuff. And then what do you suggest to for people at two different levels? Let's go with that because I don't just hang out with beginners only. I hang out with beginner, intermediate, advanced, and master peoples. Is that a word?
Master,
Master
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 people.
peoples, which I guess
Yeah.
they should be teaching me because that's.
Well,
But yeah, just curious on there's like
well,
the different parts of that because I personally think just getting yourself to take action is just like such a big missing piece. It
it,
was in my life for sure.
it's huge. It's so huge. I'm quite a opposite, Scott. I take so much action that I actually had to learn how to get still
Yeah.
and sit between my action taking episodes. So it's interesting how we learn through different ways. But let me just bring this. There is always going to be a deeper message that your soul will ask you to bring, and it will be scary and uncertain, and it will feel like a risk, and it will feel like you're going to lose some part of your following if you're going to share that part of you.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
You know what I mean?
We're
That
talking
is
about
the
using our voice now and being authentic, yeah?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So there is always going to be this deeper message that will be bubbling up and asking you to share yourself. And then in that process, find your peers, find the people who are, like Brené Brown says, standing in the arena with you. So you have the people that you can share that process with, so you don't soldier up and doing it alone. It's really easy to do alone what you have done before, but when you're entering a new territory of a new courage and new authenticity, you get to find your allies, your true allies.
Yeah, yeah.
And the ally, from my perspective, is a person who sees you deeply, from sees who you are, and accepts and celebrates the fullness of your range, your divinity, and your humanity. An ally is a person who amplifies your gifts simply by their presence and simply by the depth how they see you. An ally could be your teacher, can be your student, can be your beloved, can be your friend, but find your allies, right?
Yeah, I
and
love that. I
and
love that.
call them.
Mm. I love that. And I think because I've talked about this before a lot too. I think again, maybe it's because look, I think we're all creators for sure, right? So I don't ever, we're all creative beings. We're all beautiful, but not everyone's in the arts, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I've talked about this before on this show, is like going through, I've done all the programs with our people, right? I've done all the workshops, all the courses, all the programs and masterminds and all the things. And I always felt like they were always only speaking, automatically assuming that everybody who's on here is going to be a how-to coach 10-step
Mm,
course creator person. And I
mm,
don't knock that because I think it's very valuable. But I always felt like, where the hell are my people? Like, I felt like I was
mm,
aligned with them on the entrepreneur side. Like, these are my conscious entrepreneur people that want to change the world. But I kept feeling like, where are my people? Like, where's my tribe of conscious creators that want to also utilize their gifts of creativity, like their different kinds of talents, or grow into them. And I always felt like an outcast. That's been a
mm,
really hard part of my journey, and that's why I created, and I'll be announcing that more fully. The Creators Playground, which is kind of an offshoot of this show. It's really to be able to do what we're talking about here or there. And I think it's a
mhm,
beautiful place where I feel like there's nothing like it online because I haven't seen a place where it's a bunch of creators, like this huge community of conscious creators coming together. You see the
mm,
entrepreneur groups or you see like the total Hollywood groups, but I don't see that kind of in between space. And I'm like, well,
mm.
it's got to be out there somewhere, but I haven't seen it. And I've been doing this a long time, so maybe it's time to do something
Yeah.
to
If
add to that space, and plus to help myself be sane and surround myself around people like you to come in there and tell everybody off with your angelic self.
yes, if you don't see it, you get to create it,
Yeah.
right? If you whatever you desire to experience, create it. Create it. The answer to any challenge, internal or external, is always the same in my perspective. Create.
Mm, that's beautiful. Well, I think I think we could go on for days. I feel like my podcast, my show might be turning into like a Joe Rogan 3 hour podcast show. Because when certain guests come on, I'm like, I don't want to stop. Like this could go on. Literally, like I think we've been, how long we been going here? Let's see,
And like
hour and 20
90,
minutes, hour and 20 minutes,
yeah.
which is fine. I mean, I've gone an hour and a half. Like it feels very natural with people.
Mm,
Because
mm.
to me, it's like sitting down at at a dinner table and catching up with a
Yeah,
friend or someone that you just met and really getting to know them and share your stories and connect and help people that are watching it in the audience. It's a cool thing to be able to do, you know?
so cool.
So let's do this. First, let me take a moment. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And just hold my hand over my heart. Can you see it,
Mm,
y'all? It's there.
hmm
Um, and just say that I really thank
mm,
you. I appreciate you. I think you are a beautiful, beautiful soul. I always have. I've always been very connected
mm.
to you. And I think you're doing such an incredible thing in the world. You shine your light, you share your gifts, you give so many people incredible experiences and transformations. And I've always said, I see you and I really appreciate you and I love you and you're a beautiful soul sister. And
Mm.
yeah, all the good things.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much. I received this. I
Yeah,
received this so deeply.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, where can people find you? What's the best place to find you?
Oh, just Google me.
Just
Katerina.
Google, yeah, Katerina
Just Google.
Satori. If
Just
I was
Google
really cool,
Katerina.
I'd have that animated thing fly up right now. It's like Katerina
Yeah.
Satori. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
I just made it
Yeah,
mine.
I am all over internet. I'm very active on social media. I
Yes,
embrace
you
social
are.
media as a place of contribution.
Yeah,
So you can find me on Instagram as Katerina Satori, Facebook Katerina Satori, YouTube Katerina Satori, and my website Katerina Satori. So it's very
KaterinsaTori.com.
easy.
Yeah.
Very easy.
All
Yeah.
right, beautiful, beautiful. And so
You
let's finish up with one question that I like to ask lately is because it's such a big thing for me is like what would you tell people is your piece of advice, wisdom on how to free yourself to be yourself so you can literally be out in the world doing your purpose and just let all the noise go.
the per the per the purpose of life is to find your gift. The meaning of life is to give it away.
I love that.
Said Picasso.
I was gonna say I heard that somewhere, but I
Said,
wasn't gonna rain on your parade. I'm just saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
Picasso, Pablo Picasso. So the purpose, until we dare to find our gift, which is already within us,
yeah.
we will not find the fulfillment. And then until we dare to give our gift away,
It's a service piece, isn't it? Really,
the
because
service
that's taken
piece.
me a long time to get. I remember I had the Native American teacher I studied with for 8 years. Like that was her mantra was just you'll see when you get to the point
Yeah.
where you just serve that it's all about
Mhm.
service. If you want all the blessings in your life, it's about serving. And I'd like to ask a question, personal question around that. So for people that are, again, because we hear people that are kind of weirdo like me,
It's so funny.
you see it in the entrepreneur space. Like, hey, it's like be of service by sharing your skills, your gifts, your stories, your steps, your form, like anything you learn to help other people change their life and make their life better. So, as a artist, we'll say, like as a musician, singer, songwriter, a poet, who's not necessarily out there creating courses, not necessarily out there doing that. What do you think their service is? I know what it is, but I'm curious on what your take on that is as well.
Wow. It
Yeah, go please.
it's your frequency.
Ah,
It's your frequency. Well, actually, that's the highest service that all of us can offer.
like the
It's
transmission of
your
our soul frequency.
it's our transmission, right?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. It's a transmission. That's what magnetizes people.
Yeah, I get it.
It's
Right. And
they
that's why
think,
different versions of it, right? Because I look at that too and I'm like, okay, so this course might not teach you how to find your relationship or I'm sorry, this music, but meanwhile there's 80,000 people in the audience singing every freaking word of your song. I'm like,
mhm,
you're doing something there. And I think
yeah.
that I personally, my ego that I divorced, I think we're separated at least. It's like, that part of me always comes in there and goes, yeah, but like, how are you changing lives with that? It's like even being a stand-up comedian, like they have their service too, right? They make people laugh. They're in their joy. They're in their high vibration. But I'm like, but they're
Mhm.
not walking away necessarily transformed. And I think that's the thing. Like our
Mhm.
industry can transform people, whereas creative industries can inspire, empower, touch, elevate. And they're all good. They're all perfect. They're all beautiful because we each have our own soul gifts. And
Yes.
I fought that for a long time. I kept trying to like be the
Mhm.
course creator and be that person. And I'll still do it because it's like now I have a different attitude about it. But I always thought I saw it differently. I'm like, man, where's because it's like I'm in my soul. Like I just want to like sing and shit and make people feel good
Yeah.
and laugh and
Mhm.
play and make beautiful art and hang out with rock stars like you. So anyway, it's
Mhm.
not about me. It's about you. Thank you so much for coming on this episode. We'll have you back because we got another 2 or 3 hour episode in us somewhere.
I would love to be back.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's part of
Yes.
my thing now. I think if I hear that, that means like, and it's true, and I feel it true. I'm like, all right, I've done my job.
Yeah.
Done my
You're
job.
so, you're so fun. You're so fun. Thank you,
Thank you.
Scott. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. This was incredible,
I
and
appreciate it.
I loved
You're
it.
you're the best. You're the best. Hang tight. I'll see you in the green room in a couple seconds. Okay.
Okay.
Please subscribe, like, like and share and all the things because I said so. Because that's what I do. So I just want to say that I really had a blast on this episode. I think there was so many wisdom bombs and so much incredible, um, great messages and great high vibration and so much laughter and so much fun. I think it's so important that we all get to experience that. And so I give to you, my beautiful audience, and I hope it's more than one of you watching right now, besides me and Katerina, to believe in yourself, give yourself permission to drop in your beautiful heart and know that you are loved, you are seen, and that you matter, and that we need your voice in the world. So go shine your light, do your thing, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace.